And again, if folks can just stay on mute and please save your questions till the end, that would be a huge help. Pam Seibel is texting me.
What is that? I'm sorry, you have to excuse me. This is my first Zoom meeting. What do you mean stay on mute? What do I have to do?
So I'm going to go ahead. There's a little button at the bottom left that says mute. And that means that we can't hear you. So if you cough or sneeze, it won't be picked up on the audio. So, and then after, when we get to the Q&A portion at the end, we'll go ahead and you can unmute yourself. But there's also a cute little tool called reactions where you can raise your hand. And that way I can keep track of who has a question. And you'll see the little icon at the bottom of your screen. So, all right.
I just want to say before we get started late, I'm jealous of anyone who's made it through these past 4 years and has never had a Zoom call. So good for you.
So lucky. So lucky. Awesome. All right. And here is Commissioner Bonilla. So we have our speakers. Awesome. So thank you all so much for being here. Just for those that jumped on, we are recording the beginning half and we're leaving questions for the end. And I'll stop recording when we start asking questions. My name is Lee Perry. I'm a local climate activist. I do a lot of environmental education and advocacy around issues that matter most. And I have three very special guests who are here. Commissioner Emily Bonilla, who just logged on. We have Eric Grimmer, who was appointed to the Charter Review Commission and was one of the leading champions of the rural boundary. And we also have Dr. Kelly Semrad, who is the one who submitted the rural boundary to the Charter Review Board and is also the vice chair of Save Orange County, who have been fighting a lot of urban sprawl, and is also a candidate running for Orange County District 5. Emily Bonilla, Commissioner Bonilla, is termed out, and so Kelly has been endorsed by Commissioner Bonilla, and so she is now running for that seat. So this is a great opportunity to have these incredible leaders at your fingertips for Q&A at the end. And just to reiterate one last time, please stay on mute and then raise your hand when you have a question towards the end. I'll stop recording and we can have it be a little bit more fluid and free speech. So I'd like to get started with basically the life cycle of the rural boundary. So I would love to start with Dr. Kelly Semrad to talk a little bit about why she introduced the rural boundary originally, and then bring it over to Eric Grimmer to talk about the CRC process, and then Commissioner Bonilla to close us out on what's happening at the Board of County Commissioners. So Kelly, introduce yourself. Maybe tell us a little bit about your history with the rural boundary. You are on mute, my darling.
Did it. Hi.
All right, there we go.
So sorry, everyone. I'm on my phone in my car, so I couldn't find my unmute button. So hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This has been a total journey, and I'll tell you that this rural boundary is about a decade's worth of work from an organization that is called Save Orange County, that functions out of East Orange County, where it's past the Econ River, where we don't have urban services, and so we've got a rural community, and a lot of people out there have been fighting urban sprawl from coming across the Econ River. So essentially, when I submitted this proposal, and Eric is truly like the superstar here, along with his whole subcommittee that really embraced this, studied it for almost 2 years. I mean, they just did an incredible job, and a very skilled attorney set, because on our Charter Review Commission that Eric was part of, that subcommittee, I think it had 3 or 4 attorneys on it. So we've got ourselves a real powerhouse bill, which is going to explain why it has become so threatening to so many mega developers. So I submitted this. So our Charter Review Commission, just for you guys to know, it's a group of individuals that are appointed by the county commissioners and the mayor every 4 years. So each commissioner gets 2 appointees, and then the mayor gets 3. Eric Grimmer, he was an appointee of District 4, which is Maribel Cordero Gomez. And our commissioner, or our charter commissioners, were Eugene Staccardo and Chuck O'Neill. And so we worked through our commissioners of District 5 and then also with Eric because he was the subcommittee chair. But essentially what we put in for is we learned that the county had a $22 billion deficit with a B in their infrastructure needs. We also know that our roads are one of the most deadliest in the entire country for Orange County, and with pedestrian and bicycle fatalities. We've got agricultural. That's a very important part of our economic sector. We also have a bunch of people who bought into where I come from, the east side of the county, that were promised by the county that urban sprawl wouldn't cross the river. And so it was an issue of that they believed that they were buying into something that then wasn't being realized, but that at the same time they were picking up basically the bill for the deficit in these developments. And we've got the perfect example in East Orange County with the GROW, which is Lake Pickett South, where the infrastructure that went in or needs to go in to support that is just a drop in the bucket in comparison to what the actual cost is. And it ends up being the taxpayers that begin to subsidize that cost, hence where we begin to get deficits like the $22 billion. So we have Commissioner Emily Bonilla. She's been a total champion for District 5, trying to advocate for sustainable, smart growth, where we begin to build into our urban core as opposed to building out into the rural areas, which is cheap for developers to build, but it's really expensive for taxpayers to support. We will never get a mass transit system that can work if we continue to have suburban sprawl. We will never get safer roads. We'll never have roads that aren't broken. And so I put in for it at that point in time for just to really address getting the biggest return on investment of our infrastructure dollars, conserving the natural green space that we have left, and really trying to look at, I mean, land is a finite resource, right? Like once they've stopped making it. So the land we've got is the land we've got. They're not making any more of it. So every time that we're approving a development outside of the urban service area is a loss of land for the future. And is suburban sprawl really the way that we want to grow? It's not a smart form of growth. So we put in for that. The Charter Commission, they took it, they studied it, they put it into a subcommittee. It spent about 8 months there. It came out to the floor, and Eric will talk to you about the whole process that they underwent. But in the meantime, we were preempted by the state as the committee was trying to do their due diligence. There was a senator who doesn't live in Orange County. He was lobbied by Tavistock and Suburban Land Reserve, which is the Deseret Ranch. They added one sentence on the fly on the floor that basically handcuffed Eric, his team, and the CRC from being able to move the rural boundary to our ballot for voters to have the opportunity to vote on it and to amend our county constitution to represent our growing needs in Orange County. So, but they did leave a window open where they said that the BCC could do it. So we went to the BCC, and so many of you on this call sat in those chambers with us fighting, and we got it to the BCC. We didn't think that we would have our 4 votes, but we did. It was a surprise. We flipped one of the commissioners. We also have the mayor saying that he's leaning towards supporting it. And then came kind of like the next layer. Once the developers found out, like, wow, they got their 4 votes at the commission level, we're in trouble. You know, they tried to target our supervisor of elections and bumping up the deadline from what would have been August 28th to what he wanted to make June 14th, which would be this Friday. We just heard today, it broke the media cycle, that he has agreed to go with the original deadline of August 27th. So that's fantastic news for us. But every single time that they have a lot of time left, you guys, to kill this on us if we really want this. I mean, and there's an active energy and approach to try to stop this and to try to stop voters from being able to vote on it. So it's super important. Erica's going to tell us the process. Commissioner Bonilla is going to give us some strategy, but it's the biggest power we have, you guys, is to sit in those chambers, to stare at them, and to let them know that the voters are watching. And when I say them, it's the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor. So they need to feel the political pressure. They need to, you've got seats 1, which is District 1, District 3, which is Myra Uribe, and District 5 are all up for election this year. Unfortunately, Commissioner Bonilla is termed out. I'm running for her seat. I stand behind the people in this rural boundary. District 1 is the same, Commissioner Wilson. District 3, Myra Uribe, she was our flip vote, and we got to keep her. We have to keep her. She's with us and she hears the reason of it, but we have to keep the political pressure. So that's all that I have on why I submitted. There's a lot of false information going around saying that this is going to be, that it's going to drive up the cost of housing. It's gonna prevent affordable housing. There's a lot of misinformation. It talks about taking people's property rights. No, that's not at all what this does. It actually protects people's property rights that bought in the rural area. So we've got, we have a fight out in front of us, but the people of East Orange County and the people on the West, because they also have a portion of the boundary, we've really stayed united through the whole thing for years. So we just have to keep showing up. We have to keep fighting forward, and it's going to be a tag team effort all the way across the finish line. So thank you so much for being here and for listening. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Eric and hearing the strategy coming from Commissioner Bonilla as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for that awesome recap. So Eric, maybe tell us a little bit about, first of all, did you even know what the CRC process was like when you were appointed, and maybe talk a little bit about the structure and then why your committee, decided to move the rural boundary forward?
Yeah, sure. It's pretty funny. When Commissioner Gomez Cordero asked me to serve on the CRC, this was June of 2023, I believe. No, actually 2022. I never heard of the Charter Review Commission. I didn't know what it did, but the commissioner asked me to serve, and I was more than willing to step up to the plate for her. And then as we got closer to the process and kind of word started to get out among the community that I was serving on the CRC, a lot of people came up to me and said, "Wow, you on the CRC? That's a really big deal." And I started to get really, really scared every time I heard that from other people. What exactly have I gotten myself into? But it was probably one of the most educational experiences of my life. I enjoyed it immensely, and I'm also so happy it's over because it was a grind. Yeah, so Kelly did a great job of recapping some, just to fill in some of the gaps about the Charter Review Commission itself. Like Kelly mentioned, there's 15 of us. And what's really important is we're 15 ordinary citizens. We're not elected officials, right? We're appointed by elected officials, but we're here as citizens to represent citizens. And we held commission meetings for over a year, including one in every single district in the county, where we invited people to come out and tell us what they were looking for from the Charter. What were their concerns? What were their problems they were experiencing? And how could we address them? Because everyone doesn't know, the Charter Review Commission reviews the charter, which is kind of the constitution for Orange County. And so we can recommend changes. And what's unique about our situation as a Charter Review Commission is we can put things directly on the ballot ourselves without the approval of the county commission. Now, it kind of works backwards in this rural boundary, but that's how it works. And as a rule, and we were able to put CRC, we're putting 8 ballot measures on the November ballot, which is a new record for any CRC. So there's a lot of interesting things and important things that'll be on your ballot in the fall, regardless of. And then, Kelly brought this to our attention, and then we spent a number of months in subcommittee really studying it. We heard from our county planning department multiple times. We talked with Seminole County Commissioner Lee Constantine and former county commissioner there at Seminole County, Randall Morris, because they have their own rural boundary in Seminole County that's been over 20 years, has been extremely successful protecting the rural areas. We studied other counties in Florida that have rural boundaries. Sarasota has something like that. Alachua County just passed one in 2020. And actually our attorney for the Charter Review Commission, because we had our own attorney who advised us, he actually worked for Alachua County when they drafted there. So he has many years of experience in municipal law, and especially working with charter review commissions to do these kinds of things. And he actually was the CRC attorney for Orange County in 2016 as well. So he has a lot of experience, provide a lot of counsel. We tore multiple drafts of the ballot measure to pieces. We had, out of 5 members on the our committee, we had 3 attorneys plus our CRC attorney. So a lot of legal experience, giving all the consideration to all the permutations. And just to give kind of an overview of actually what the rule of boundary proposal is as it stands. So like Kelly mentioned, it's a measure that's designed to provide some check against out of control suburban sprawl that we've been experiencing in Orange County for really the past few decades. So what it does is it sets up the rural area, number one. What is the rural area? Rural area uses the county's existing urban service area map, which is contained in the comprehensive plan. There's a boundary on the left and a boundary on the east and the west, and in the middle is the urban service area. Right? So we kind of use that as the base. It's already existing. They've studied it for years. We've had it for years. So we know it's a good, solid line that kind of gives us great direction on where we should be focusing our growth in the county in this urban service area. But then there were some issues just using that in isolation, because it's kind of been made Swiss cheese over the years, especially on the west side of the county. There are things called joint planning agreements that the county has with municipalities, where that land that is currently in Orange County is planned for the future to be annexed into a municipality, whether it be something like a Popco or Winter Garden. And they've taken steps to prepare for that future annexation, like putting in infrastructure, and there's an agreement that will happen in the future. So we didn't want to interrupt those agreements. So, for example, we exempted those joint planning agreements, from the rural area. We exempted places where there's already suburban style development in areas that are technically outside their urban service area, but were already developed. Things like Horizon West, and also with this couple things called growth centers, one by US 192, and then Mount Dora up in the northwest part of the county. So we took those things out of the rural area because those are planned or already have kind of future suburban or urban style development. So there we have our rural area. And so there's 2 aspects of rural boundary proposal to deal with that rural area. One is to change the density or intensity of land that's in the rural area. It will require a majority plus 1 vote of the county commission. Right now, it's just a simple majority vote. So this doesn't prohibit, changing density or intensity of land uses in the rural area. They can do it with a 5-2 vote based on the current county commission setup, but hopefully just, makes it a little more difficult, or makes them think about it a little more what they're doing if we're going to be approving, more dense, intense development in the rural area. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is dealing with, we have had a lot of issues recently and in the past few years with annexations from municipalities. And an annexation, if you're not aware of that, is where land is in unincorporated Orange County can become a part of a municipality and no longer part of Orange County. And when that happens, generally speaking, the municipality gets to apply since it becomes part of the municipality, it applies all its rules and regulations, including land use. And what's been happening recently is that municipalities have been annexing land to avoid some of our more stringent land use regulations, especially when it comes to environmental protections. Using an example, I know people have heard Sunbridge out here in East Orange County is an example of an annexation that has happened recently with the city of Orlando. Now, the rural boundary wouldn't have applied to this parcel of land because it actually is in the urban service area, but it's an example of the things we were trying to address with the rural boundary. Because the city of Orlando doesn't even have an environmental protection division, right? And Orange County has this huge division and has a brand new wetlands code that just went into effect this month, right? So when these parcels of land are annexing to municipalities, they're basically forum shop for more favorable land use terms and avoiding regulations, right? So what we did with the rural boundary in the second part is, if land is in unincorporated Orange County in the rural area and then is later annexed into municipality, that municipality would still have to apply the county's land use rules. So basically, they couldn't forum shop for those more favorable terms. They could go ahead and annex. We can't stop that under Florida law. But if they did, they wouldn't get that benefit of applying less onerous development rules, and especially things that are protected. So those are the two big pieces. And we heard, we got a lot of pushback, especially from our municipal partners. But we did, I believe we did take care of all their concerns once we exempted some of those things I mentioned earlier, like the municipal, especially the joint planning agreements. We took those out of the rural area, so this does not apply. So I think we addressed those concerns, we listened to them, and we acted accordingly as a committee. But yeah, we still received a lot of pushback. But unlike the support we received from the community, which was all public, people coming out to public comments, putting their name to their words, writing emails in their own name, putting the name behind what they believe in. A lot of the things that were done to oppose the rural boundary occurred behind the scenes, whether it's going to a state senator who lives 2 hours from here and getting them to introduce an amendment to a Department of Commerce bill that preempts the CRC, which happened. It was just signed by Governor DeSantis this afternoon, officially preempting the CRC, but not the BCC, which is why we're here. Whether it's lobbying with county staff or with county commissioners to try to kill this behind the scenes. But the people have supported it all along, and I'm so supremely thankful for Dr. Semrad for bringing this forward and for being at nearly every meeting that we had. And then also the individuals who came out time and time again, their voice of support for the rural boundary, sacrificed their time, their relaxing time, their time with their families. It really meant a lot to me as a committee chair, and to the CRC as well. And I think we saw the effects of that. When we recommended as a CRC, since we were preempted, the best we could do was recommend that the BCC take it up. It was a 13-1 vote to make that recommendation. And even people who had expressed a lot of hesitation on the CRC prior to that vote, I didn't think we were going to have their vote, and they voted for it. So I think they heard this the really overwhelming public support that they received and responded to. So that's what we did as a CRC. We made that a recommendation in our final report that the BCC take this up, since we were preempted by the state and unable to do it ourselves. And the BCC is taking the ball and running with it. Kelly mentioned that, and I know Commissioner Bonilla is going to address kind of what we're looking at moving forward in terms of that process.
Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing that recap. That was very helpful. And I'd love to invite Commissioner Bonilla to come on camera if possible, and maybe start talking about, what's next, and maybe even in your experience, you have served 2 full terms, and we're so grateful for your service. You've been one of the primary people on the board to kind of speak out against lobbyists trying to put their finger on the democratic process to tilt it in their favor, and, on the favor of developers. And so I'm curious to hear a little bit about your expertise and just sharing a little bit about your experience.
Thank you so much for putting this together. I'm not going to be in video. I'm still getting over a cold, and so if I sound kind of weird, that's why. So, oh my gosh, I'll tell you, this definitely has gone back a long time. With just the powers that be, right? Trying to stop this and doing whatever they can. I may get the years wrong because I can't really remember. It's either 26 or 2018, but I had put out a petition initiative for a rural boundary, either 2016, 2018, I can't remember. And when I had done that, I want to say it's 2018, because 2 years before that was a CRC of 2016. And the CRC of 2016 had a lot of people on there who just wanted to make it impossible for citizens to get anything on the ballot. And so they had changed a lot of the charter of the Citizens Initiative Citizens Initiative petition process to put something on the charter to make it more difficult. Like, they added a requirement for a PAC. So you had to put a PAC together. They increased the amount of signatures you needed to get. You had to pay for all the signatures, which, everyone does. But then you also had to have these name tags, whether you're a volunteer or paid. I mean, there were just all these loops they added in 2016 that you had to jump through in order to get something on the chart on the ballot for a charter amendment. And so in 2018, I'm here with these new regulations trying to get a petition initiative for a rural boundary. That's never going to happen. It was just almost, it's the whole process that they created was impossible for anyone to make it happen. So regardless, I did try anyway, but it just failed. I just had to give up because it was just almost impossible. 2020, I was really hoping that we could get it on at the CRC. You know, Eugene was my appointee back in 2020 for the CRC, but he just didn't get any he wasn't able to get that on the ballot back then. And there was still a lot of people just even on that CRC who was really making it difficult to really get things, you know, good on the ballot. I am surprised that Eugene got what he was able to get that year. He did an amazing job and was persistent and was very successful in getting the items that he did get on the ballot that year. I mean, it was the split oak forest one and the right to clean water. Amazing efforts by Eugene. And then, you know, fast forward to this CRC, you know, Kelly, she brought it up to them, and actually, let's go back a little bit because in 2022, I actually approached the BCC, the Board of County Commissioners, to get it on the ballot for 2022, and the mayor said, "Well, we have the CRC coming together, so let's let them do it." So he pushed it off to the CRC, and so you know, then 2024, we're here trying to get it on the through the CRC. And once again, you know, we just get pummeled by these lobbyists, and the lobbyists were there at every single meeting. You had so you have Deseret Ranch, who has their contract buyer Tavistock, who is represented by the Southern Group, used to be called Southern Strategies. And the Southern Group lobbyists, they had a representative at every single meeting, but they won't speak. They won't publicly speak at any of these meetings. And you could say that's like the East Side opposition. And then you had, give me one second, my Alexa's speaking. A reminder to feed the dog. This is a reminder. Feed Zelda. All right, so then on the west side, oh, don't worry about my dog, my kids will feed the dog. And then on the west side of the county, we have Scott Boyd, who is a former commissioner for Orange County in District 1. And it now is basically past his 6 years. So it's six years for you to be out of office before you can lobby the county. So now he's a registered lobbyist with the county through his organization. But his organization also owns land on the west side. And so he has these huge swaths of acreage out on the west side, I believe, and I just recently found out also in Lake County by the border there. So if you look up, you know, his organization and some of the things happening in Lake County, it's just crazy. I just did not realize all the controversy that he was going through on that side. But he was at the CRC meetings as well, and he wasn't very pleasant to some of the CRC members, swearing at them publicly and cursing at them. And when I saw how he was treating Lake County citizens, it was very similar behavior. Not a very pleasant man to get in his way. Oh, so Kelly, I guess you weren't as nice to him either, yelling at him back. Well, I'm sure he deserved it. So, you know, so now we have on the west side, you know, Scott Boyd, who's also fighting about it. He hasn't, I believe, I haven't seen him myself speak publicly in any of these meetings, but he does have, I guess, a lobbyist who is not registered with the county, though, as a lobbyist representing him. So that definitely is an issue that our county said that they were going to send out warning letters to them about that. But we have both these sides just opposing this, putting pressure. Both sides have connections in Tallahassee. So now we have that bill that was just signed. I just found out today, the governor just signed it today, Bill SB 1420, I believe it is, that preempts any citizen-led group from being able to do like a rural boundary or anything like that. So that was just signed today by the governor, and that was through some lobbying efforts of I can't remember the name of the group, but it's a Tallahassee group, but a member of that is Tavistock. So, if you're wondering why these people don't speak publicly, it's because they are in the ears of elected officials. They don't have to speak publicly. They have meetings with elected officials. The founder of, or one of the founders of the Southern group here in Central Florida, Kelly Cohen, was the finance chair of Mayor Demings and was very involved in almost all of Buddy Dyer's elections. I know for a fact, as I was told by another commissioner on our board, that his campaign was also financed by Southern Group, and possibly others. And so, they don't have to come out publicly and speak because they're already talking to all the elected officials behind closed doors. And the connection with Scott Boyd talked to Mayor Demings into running for mayor, so they have a good connection there. He put out a video defending the mayor when he was attacked by Mayor Jacobs during the 2018 campaign. You can find that on Facebook. So they're all connected. But I will say that the difference between when I was trying to do a citizens petition in 2018 and today is that everyone is working together. And I cannot stress enough that it's so important that when you're trying to get something done, that everyone works together and everyone pulls all their support and everyone gets out there and everyone sends letters, emails, phone calls, speaks at public meetings, and does everything that they can, to support the effort and show unity on these efforts and what they want. They have to show that they're united on exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Back in 2018, the talks were first to just get a rural boundary in the east side, but I wanted to involve the west side, which I'm happy that today we're continuing that, because we need both sides of the county involved. We can't just focus on one side of the county. The west side is also having the similar issues that the east side is having. And some more unique issues as well, because they are dealing with more annexation issues. However, we're not too far from that here in the east side with the Sunbridge annexation. So, now it's in the Board of County Commissioners' hands. And now we got confirmation today as well that the supervisor election is going to stick with the August 27th deadline for us to get something to him. We have in our next board meeting, oh my gosh, if I could just get it's this coming Tuesday. I don't have the exact date. But it's this coming Tuesday. We're gonna have a BCC meeting and we're gonna have a workshop at the end of the BCC, thank you, June 18th. If you want to speak for public comment, you could speak at 9 o'clock in the morning, but the board isn't going to discuss the item until the very end of the day in the afternoon. So I definitely encourage people to come and make their comments, and state their reasons, for what they feel for the rural boundary. I can't tell you what to say. If I sound very cryptic right now, that's why. So I will, unless Lee, you want me to cover anything else, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Oh,
Thank you.
I guess I do have, so we're gonna have 2 workshops. The first one is this Tuesday. We're also gonna be doing a charter amendment on annexations, which is also extremely important. So almost every BCC meeting until the first meeting in August, we're going to be covering these 2 charter amendments. So it's very important that people come out to speak. On Tuesday, people should come out in the morning because that will be the only opportunity for you to speak on this issue, which would be at, I suggest coming at 8:30 to start getting through security and signing up. And you'll be speaking probably at, I want to say 9:30. but the meeting starts at 9. All right, back to you, Lee.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We are in the works, and I'm glad I got you here because we are planning a press conference in the morning. So stay tuned for that. I'm fleshing out the details, but yeah, everybody who registered and signed up, it would be really great for us to be able to stay in touch with you and be able to have your email address and send any action alerts and petitions. Save Orange County has an awesome petition on the website. And yeah, we have a lot of opportunities for folks to get plugged in and to stay involved. I don't think that there is a vote since it's just a work session on Tuesday, but it is one of those things where we really want to show them that people are showing up on this issue. And that's one of the reasons why we were able to get this as far as we have. Commissioner Bonilla just shared all the attempts in the past, but it's the people that have been keeping it on the forefront of the conversation because you continue to show up. And Save Orange County in particular, like I wish, I'm running like 16 different campaigns right now. I wish that I had the momentum that's the folks out in Save Orange County have. Like that is a force to be reckoned with, and I find it really inspiring. And so, we just need to get to a place where we're able to keep that fire lit all throughout this process. Couple points that I'd like to make and then, open it up to questions. This fight is so intersectional with everything that our panelists have mentioned so far. And then of course the environment. See, the thing about our political arena right now is that we're so quick to be divided on, certain polarizing topics. But I'll tell you one thing that brings us together is clean air, clean water, the ability to have our wildlife not be mowed down by cars, our ability to have our taxes go to the people and the infrastructure that we deserve and the quality of life that we deserve, and not subsidize corporations whose CEOs usually don't even live here. They live abroad, or they're making like 10 times more than the average annual income of the residents that are living here. And, when Kelly had brought up that we have a $22 billion deficit in our infrastructure, that's for projects that are sitting in the docket right now. When we talk about the rural boundary, we're talking about the huge momentum that we're seeing in the future of future development that's coming, whether it's Tavistock and Deseret Ranch, or even the Sunbridge annexation and all of the parcels that the city of Orlando and these other special interests are salivating at being able to develop. We've heard rumors that Scott Boyd is also looking to purchase a large swath of land out by Christmas. And we're seeing it in the Central Florida Expressway Authority's master plan that they have more toll roads in the works outside of that, way past the econ outside of that rural boundary. And we know that more roads lead to more sprawl. It's just a mechanism to subsidize that. And toll roads in particularly, not only are we footing the bill, but we're also paying for it long-term by being charged by toll road in addition to that. So they want to take your money, ruin our conservation land, completely degrade our taxing infrastructure for us to not be able to like afford transit and all the things that we deserve, as existing residents here, but ultimately subsidize the developers that are going to get rich really quick and not hold them accountable to those long-term costs. So I just wanted to put all that in one kind of overwhelming rant so that we can kind of have the bigger picture all in one. I'm a dang hippie. I like to hug trees, so I got to bring up the animals and the biodiversity loss. I'll tell you, the one thing that brings me closer together with my neighbors, regardless of political party, is that we all love Florida. It is such a unique place. The swamps, the uplands, the animals here, some of the species here are endemic and they're not found anywhere else in the world. We're so lucky to have it, and we deserve to keep it and preserve it. You know, Eric brought up what's happening on the west side of Orange County, and I worked with Commissioner Bonilla for a couple years, Commissioner Wilson for a couple years, and something that really was disheartening was talking to the people that have lived out there for generations, explaining how beautiful and pristine the ecosystems out there used to be. And going there now, all I hear is like screaming because it has been completely leveled. This would be such a different story if we had real approaches to smart growth, if we had real infrastructure support and making sure that we're growing the right way and doing the right and having real wetlands protections and real tree protections. The type of development that's coming with the sprawl is not one that, you know, they try to brand it like the grow as this sustainable agri-hood, you know, where you have this farm and all this stuff. What we're actually seeing is all of the absolutely priceless ecosystems that have been there for hundreds of thousands of years being leveled, and the developers are not paying what those ecosystems are worth. First of all, I don't know how you can quantify a 300-year-old oak tree the same as a little tiny sapling and then come in and put maybe one palm. But the developers are not paying in to the long-term costs of losing those trees and the degradation of our air quality, the increases of our asthma and birth defects from poor air quality, and let alone the flooding. So Kelly, you
Lee,
have your hand up.
I just want to say one thing. Thank you so much. I have to run into just one more event tonight, but you guys, I just want to say we have stuck together for so long, showing up at these meetings, being in that chamber till like 2 a.m. in the morning at times, 11 p.m. at night. We keep showing up, you guys, and we're at the finish line. Do not quit on us yet. We need people to come. I put it into the chat. We've got one meeting at this Tuesday at 9 a.m. where they're going to talk about the wording. Then we've got another one that's coming up. I believe I put it in. It was July 9th, which is the workshop on the ordinance. And then the final vote is July 30th at 9 a.m. Obviously, it's hard for people to be at all three of those. If you can, great. If you can't, the most important one for us to be at is July 30th. Sitting there, expect that the mayor will reduce our time to only 1 minute, and expect to get there early because sometimes he caps the amount of time that people can talk to only an hour. But the word gets out and the developers will show up and sign up for all of the hour time slots, and then we will be without being able to speak. So on July 30th, it's the most critical.
So, sorry to interrupt. I can't figure out how to do the hand raise. But on the 30th, I believe that's the public hearing for it. So if it's the public hearing, it will be in the afternoon. And
thank you, Commissioner.
And it'd be a public testimony. And so you would have, he could, put it only like 1 minute, but you'll be speaking right before the BCC discusses it.
Gotcha. So that's the 2 o'clock session. So July 30th and the 2 o'clock, we'll have an agenda item there and we can speak. But that's the most important, you guys. Commissioner Bonilla has been throwing us Hail Mary passes her entire time. We have shown up and she has gotten us across the finish line. Eric is coming from a group called Yes in My Backyard, YIMBY, where they advocate for sustainable housing in the areas where it belongs. Him and his organization are there. His whole team has spent a whole year working on this. All we got to do, you guys, is carry the ball across the finish line, and we have ourselves a ballot initiative where we get to vote on where we want to put growth. So please show up. We got it. We're there. We win if we show up. It's that simple. We win if we show up. So, Lee, you bring it home. Question.